joining the YouTubes. Hello, YouTube. Let's get this day started. Let's get this day cooking. Let's do what we do best and put some positivity back in the world. Starting with you. I'm positive you got something to share.
Meeting with more buyers today. Follow-up buyers.
Nice.
I have two. My very first listing went live yesterday.
Yeah, it did.
And
That's awesome.
thank you. And one of my buyers is a couple I've been working with for 4 years. They just haven't, been able to get pre-approved or anything. And I connected them with Steve Lemons, and we're going to be looking at a house on Saturday.
Heck yeah.
Day 4, no nicotine.
Day 4. Great job.
Day
This
4 of the
character
rest
doesn't
of
win for
forever.
me.
Day 4 of forever.
How do you feel, Eric?
Like horrible.
Yeah.
Like horrible? Horrible?
The 4-day hangover.
I feel like I'm on the verge of snapping. So
Ew.
Chew some gum.
So what's your meditative practice?
punching bag.
Punching bags.
You keep one in your car?
Oh no, that's just my seat. I gotta get a new seat.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
No, actually I'm just trying to stay busy. More that I'm busy, the less I think about it, and next thing I know, the day's gone by already. The worst part is when I either first wake up or like when I'm not doing anything, trying to go to sleep.
That is a burden.
Change your morning routine.
All right. We all can support you, Eric. We're not gonna let you fail.
I know.
I'll make you a custom song if you want to listen to it when you're tired.
I don't know if my wife would like it, but
It might be awesome. It might be the best thing that's ever happened to you. So, all right. More wins. Hey, look, Sam's here.
Hello.
Samuel,
How are we all doing on this fine Friday?
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Good to
Doing
hear.
well.
Good to hear.
That's all the wins. Fuck, Max must be driving down the whoops of a dirt bike track. He is jostling all over the place.
Just hitting those, speed bumps faster just to have fun.
They're called speed bumps on purpose, man. They're not slow bumps.
Speed jumps.
Those were children.
Well, better than a punching bag. All right. Sam, what's your win for the last 2 weeks?
Oh man. Well, I am like 95% done with this rehab project. I got the plans approved yesterday for the 2 additional ADUs. So the main house is almost done, and then the ADUs will go in the backside. So that's a big win for me.
What's your plan with the property when it's done?
Yeah, it's going to be 9-bedroom. I mean, well, 3-unit, 9-bedroom, 3-bath. Sorry, 9-bedroom, 6-bath. I get them mixed up all the time. Rental. I'm going to hang on to it, not letting it go for. Well, yeah, I think I'm just going to hold on to it. So, bought a single family home in unincorporated city limits, which it's like right on the line of where I could have done this or not, and put 2 additional ADUs on it. Or
For
putting
those
2
of you who don't know what an ADU is, Sam.
additional dwelling unit. So it's like a mother-in-law that's not attached to the original structure. So I took the original house was a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, and we converted it to a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and then put the 2 additional units. So I took something that I had purchased for $320,000, and it'll be worth a little over $1 million, and I'll be into it for right around $700,000 when it's all said and done.
Nice.
Yeah,
And
little
it'll
300,000 equity come up. There you go.
Did you have to put new utilities in for that, Sam, or you pull off of the existing utilities for those two?
So with this one, because it's unincorporated, it's on its own well and drain field. So I did have to do
Mm.
some renovations to the well and drain field to accommodate. But yeah, I mean, ideally, you are already on the city grid, and it's a lot easier to do that as long as the lot provides. The caveat there is typically if you're on the city utilities, the lots are it's tougher to find a lot that will allow for those two additional units. So this one is a big enough lot. It's like 1.78 acres, so it's large enough to put the two additional units on it. Whereas if it was in the city limits, it probably would not allow that.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I mean the cool thing is that kind of the magic behind this stuff is in property conversion. Anyone can buy a house and put a fresh coat of paint on it, upgrade the kitchen and bathrooms, and sell it for more money. Although we are seeing that kind of like shrink in popularity and profitability in the last couple of years, just with the overall market shifting. So where the real money is made is in unit conversion. So taking a single family unit and turning it into either duplex, triplex, fourplex, or doing something like the ADU play. So I would, I think the win here, the challenge, the gold nugget is if you ever come across a deal that maybe doesn't pencil as it sits, try and look for the kind of ancillary options you can do with that property. There's so many different ways to change something and actually make it profitable. Thatch Nguyen, he's from up here. I'm not sure if you guys know who that is, but first generation Vietnamese immigrant. He came here with, I mean, his family, came here with nothing, and he's probably one of the most successful real estate developers I've ever met. He runs a coaching firm. I mean, the guy's probably worth $100 million today. He's in his late 40s, but he came up with the concept of micro apartments and really started to build out like the Bay Area, and he's done them all over now, the West Coast. But that's an example of someone that he was buying rundown hotels for pennies on the dollar because the hotel play, for a rundown hotel, there's a lot of newer ones. Hyatt's, I'm trying to think of some other big brand names, but larger firms that were going in and building new construction hotels. So there's these older ones, the single level, double level kind of rundown hotels, they weren't getting booked. No one wanted to stay in a room that smelled like cigarette smokes and whatever else for roughly the same price that they could get a new one for. So those hotels were not profitable as a hotel. But if you take that hotel and convert it into a micro apartments, all of a sudden it makes a lot more sense. This, that only really works in like a densely populated area where you have like either a high student body or B, like a high commuter body that's close to work. The point of that is there's so many different ways to create wins off of real estate if you are able to kind of look outside the box. It's not everything is as it appears or as it seems. So
Sam, are they like the style that have the kitchens in each of them?
I think he put a lot of kitchens in the ones he was buying. But I mean, we're talking about like, 400 or 500 square foot apartments that
Like a dorm building, basically.
yeah, but if you think about, so like up here we have like Boeing and Amazon and Google, and we have a lot of these people that are moving here for a year or two before they find stable housing, and they need somewhere to live so they can go to work. A lot of this is kind of like really become popularized with the military and their PCS program. Like
I was gonna say, Eric, hello, when are we buying a hotel out in Sierra Vista? Let's do it.
yeah, 100%.
I've actually been watching it, so I know at the Christmas party I talked to Sam about it briefly.
Heck
But-
yeah.
Yeah, it's already a plan of mine.
Yeah,
Get it.
transitional housing. It's a huge thing. So 2 areas right now for the next like I don't know, probably decade or longer are transitional housing and storage unit facilities. If you can
Yeah.
find a failing commercial space and turn it into individual storage units. Those will be rising in popularity. And I mean, with housing shrinking, people don't get rid of stuff. We still are a consumer-based economy. So finding the ability to store your stuff offsite in a secure location is becoming more and more of a demand. So
Are you having to, when people do that, like convert something that was, because that's still considered commercial, right? Like a hotel. Do you have to rezone something like that when you're then making it into like apartments?
yep. So fortunately, right now, kind of across the board, housing being a hot topic, the rezoning is all but green lighted for stuff like that. If you're taking commercial space that was retail prior and turning it into housing, you get a lot of room there and a lot of help because it is something that needs to happen more. So when the county comes and sees someone who's not a massive incorporation coming in and trying to buy a strip mall and turning it into apartments, they're all for it. So that you do have to rezone, but fortunately you're rezoning on the right side of history and the law and all that stuff. So
That's fun. I remember you and I, like almost 2 years ago, maybe at this rate, like year and a half at least, looked at some places downtown here in Tucson
mhm.
that can be converted to accommodate additional bedrooms, put additional bathroom in for student housing rentals. Cause those are pulling in $1,000 a room near the university.
Yep. Yeah, no, I mean, subsidized student housing is still something that is really, really popular. Like subsidized student housing and then assisted adult living. Those are both really huge areas. Those very hands-on on the latter, but
I was gonna say, that seems like such a project.
yeah, it is. I mean, so I've got a friend of mine who here's a really cool fun fact is I have been immensely blessed to be able to work with a lot of people that have come to the United States for the American dream from other parts of the world and built massive businesses for themselves. And that's like, my big thing is first generation wealth. I kind of came from nothing, bootstrapped my way into wherever I am at today. And so being able to help other people do the same thing is a huge passion of mine. Having said that, a friend of mine, she's an RN. She came here on a student visa. I helped her buy her first house 6 years ago, and today she has three adult family homes that she manages, and she's hired other immigrant RNs underneath her to live and manage those houses. So
Would that
really,
be, I'm sorry,
go
would
ahead.
that be a traveling nurse home? I mean, traveling,
No, so what she does is so it's adult assisted living. Who they hire to live there. The way we've had most of them are set up is we'll either remodel and build an ADU or this in this case would be attached. So an ADU or like some sort of outbuilding for them to live in. So she lives on the property as her full-time residence. She gets her, rent, electricity, water, whatever, all that stuff covered as part of the business expense. And then her job is to provide care to the residents. So we're generally dealing with, like that 68, 70-year-old to the 90-year-old that is dealing with either mobility issues or mental issues or whatever else. Just as we age, we need more care. So it's a really cool way to kind of buy an asset, have it sort of self-managed for you, and they generate a ton of capital.
There's a few in Tucson, Sam, Audra. It's like, so actually James's grandmother is in one. It's not at all what I expected when I first saw it because he said, do you want to come visit my grandma? She's in an assisted living. And I was thinking one of those bigger, with the amenities and like all of that kind of stuff. But it's literally, it's off of, Dan probably knows where it's at. There's one it's like between Cortera Farms and Ina off of Old Father in that neighborhood back there. And it's just a regular house. And that's exactly what they did. They've converted it in a way, but essentially in the inside, it still looks like the house did. There's things in place now, like security measures, obviously, for access and all of that jazz. But yeah, it was a concept I was wholly unfamiliar with until I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know, if you think about a lot of the like, or I plan on, well, yeah, that's a different thing. But a lot of people that are moving into these, you know, it's really hard. Like if you think about the end of your life, the last, call it 10, maybe 15 years, living in essentially a dorm room, like living in a hospital, essentially, that would suck, right? I don't want to do that. And if I had the option to live in a house with a bunch of other cool roommates that maybe don't remember me, but I get amazing food and I get to sit in my comfy armchair that I know is mine, and you know all that stuff, I'm picking that, you know, 9 times out of 10. So it is it's a much more noble way to kind of live out your golden years, I think, than in one of these big assisted living facilities.
I was thinking, have you heard of a traveling nurse home? You can
Yeah.
choose.
So there's gosh, is it Furnish Finder? There's a couple different communities that do that. I have a friend of mine that has a few short-term rentals that so she's an RN down in Vancouver, Washington, and she has two different short-term rentals that are based or they're set up specifically for that. That's another really cool like niche sort of market. Just because it, you know, you're serving a specific community, and generally speaking, you know, yeah, you're dealing with someone who is working a lot of hours and it does not is not putting a ton of wear and tear on the property. So that's another big win. Traveling nurses, I've noticed though, from like a trending perspective,
Mhm.
that number has we had this massive spike for like 3 years. So like 2020 to like 2023, somewhere in there, we had a massive spike in traveling nurses because there was a fair amount of people that refused to either A, wear PPE, or B, you know, get a shot to continue going to work. And so there was a diminishing workforce, and then a whole new workforce came in, and people were not getting placed immediately. So they were traveling to find work. We're seeing that number really like it's drastically gone down. I think a lot of things over that 3 year period after the pandemic,
Mhm.
we had inflation in every area of, you know, the workforce. So construction companies are making a lot more, and you know all that stuff. So anyway, but yeah, no, it is still very much a viable option. I would say personal preference, go after something a little more like stable. Like we know that the military is going to keep growing and expanding. The PCS program is an amazing thing if you want to get into like some stable niche housing. And then people are always going to get older. Can't really escape that. I got older this morning when I woke up. So those things can really be you know, a little bit more stable, if you will.
I
How are
can't wait.
you? Oh, go ahead.
I can't wait for tomorrow.
Me
Um,
neither, brother.
I can't. So you talked about like obviously with the micro apartments and student housing. I mean, that's pretty straightforward in terms of looking at um viability in a certain area. How are you for some of these other things like the storage units, for example? I mean, is that pretty much like you're just looking at competition to see what else is in the area? Or like what are some of the like things that you're looking for to determine what might be appropriate in some of these places?
Yeah, so it's really, really important to understand your demographic before you understand your housing. Your demographic tells a story of what the housing needs to be. So if you the really, really important data to understand is like, okay, schools, their rating, their capacity, and then just the overall workforce demographic. Is it you know, people that are commuting to a factory job? Is it someone that is, you know, working that has a college degree? Kind of what does that population look like? And that'll kind of determine what type of housing is in demand. So in my area, or in my buy box, if you will, the demographic is like 70% is a commuting workforce that have children either in K through 12. And so finding housing that's close to school or on a bus line, but then also either A, has enough on-site storage, or B, would have some like relative location, relative proximity to a storage facility is gonna be super important. There's a lot of, you know, unfortunately, divorce is still super popular. And so there's a lot of, like, I would say in the overall markets that I'm kind of like going into, it's a lot of single parents, and so things like storage are important.
Mhm.
Ironically, but yeah, understand the demographic. I think that's a very overlooked thing that it's really easy for us to walk into a real estate deal and look at what we know and be like, oh man, this house it's got great bones, or look at the character. Those things are important, but understanding the real data behind what you're buying and who you're buying it for is really important. When you're buying an investment property, you're not buying it for yourself. That's probably the weirdest thing you've ever heard, but you're not buying it for yourself. You're buying it for the next person. So what are they looking for?
Yeah. That's good.
And in terms of financing on these, Sam, are you just doing like DSCR loans on these, or are there other ways that you or other people are getting into these?
Yeah. So in the past couple years, I have like really diversified how I'm acquiring properties. It just depends on the deal. The more I understand financing, and that's something that like, we don't talk about a ton on here, but I really immerse myself in all the intricacies of the financing side of real estate. So, understanding like all the different possibilities. I've used private money, I've used hard money, I've used seller financing, I've used syndicate financing, I've used DSCR loans, I've used conventional loans. I mean, it just really depends on the property and then my like personal bandwidth or what my buyer profile looks like at the time. So this most recent one was a private money transaction. The one I'm getting under contract next week is syndicate financing. And we could spend a whole class on syndicate financing, but basically, so this next one's a 6-unit apartment complex that we're going to turn into a 12-unit in Coulee City. To give you a little backstory, Coulee City is an area east side of the state that is in a really big energy hub, hydroelectric energy hub. And we are really expanding that field just as an economy. Energy is going to become a very popular employment field in the next 10, 20 years. The way syndicate financing works is I kind of create the deal, package it all up. I understand like my cash on cash return over a 1-year period. I understand my 10-year return. And then I go to someone like Dan and I say, hey, Dan, here's my project. I'm looking for $150,000. That's going to give you 10% ownership in my project. Here's your cash on cash return. Here's your 10-year return. Are you in? And Dan's like, yep, hell yes, or hey, F no. And then we're pulling it together. We put it into an LLC. We buy the property and we go from there. So
you're creating your own syndicate in that case. You're not going to one of these
correct.
like equity groups that's already pre-existing that they're going in and
Nope.
looking to buy something.
You can certainly do that. There's if you're ever interested in investing, some of them have like minimum thresholds. There's a couple really reputable ones that I would recommend. So yeah, let's talk about that for just like 2 seconds. If you want to get into investing in real estate and you don't have a ton of capital right now, there are some syndication sort of deals you can get yourself into for like $5,000 to $10,000. What's the average commission you guys see after fees and everything for selling a house? Anybody?
About $3,000.
I was gonna say mine's a little higher.
All right, $3,000. So 3 deals, and you can get yourself into like a performing 50-unit apartment complex. I mean, that's a win, right? Anyway, yeah, the way syndication works is a lot of people pooling their money together and then taking fractional ownership of a project.
A good website that started, you guys want to look at it, is arrived.com. They do a bunch of fractal ownership, and it's a way for you to get into that ball game. Now, you are getting a small slice of a big pie, but you're also buying in with $100.
Are
So
those those are like the micro investments, right, Dan? Like what are those REIs or something?
REIT,
Yeah.
REIT, real estate investment trusts.
Yeah, this is, I don't know if Arrived is a REIT. Arrived is more of a, like Sam's talking about. This is syndication because they have, hey, we got this house, we're buying it. We need 3,000 investors. And I'll show you guys. I'll log in and show you what it looks like. So as soon as I get my 6-digit code.
The one thing to be mindful of with stuff like that, if you if you are only going with a small amount, so the way those are set up is they're in blocks, right? So if you look at like Jenga, right? The top third of that Jenga stack is going to be your primary investors, the people that own, more than like a 5% share in the overall project. They're taking on the most risk, and so they get the most reward. Underneath that, you have the next third, which is, they're probably comprised of a bunch of like 2.5%, or 2%. Don't quote me on the math right now, but
Yeah, like
smaller portions,
all
smaller.
kinds of opportunities, but yeah,
Yeah.
Sam, right. It's small slices and it goes in preferred to general.
Yep.
So like they have a private credit fund where they're actually getting money together to help other people buy houses, an opportunistic credit fund, which is more of like your rough, muddy water deals, but it's offering you a 10% historic yield. And then they have the houses around the world. They call it the Gavin. It's a single family house in Savannah, Georgia. It's already leased. It's got 197 investors and they've got 20% of it funded. So you click on it and you're okay, right? Look at the house. Fantastic. So they need to generate 358,000 investment stuff. So you can look at the financials of it all. You can see the annual rent, the expenses, the cash flow, expected yield. You're like, okay, well, if you're making 3% in your credit or 3% in your savings account, you're going to make 4.5% here.
And is
Right.
that something, I would love to do a class on this kind of thing, but is that something that pays out like you're getting something annually, like a
Annually.
dividend from that type of thing, or?
Quarterly.
Yeah.
So here's my portfolio, right? I started this in 2021 and I have house. You see where I've got my houses. I have $8,000 in this account. I'm part owner in these 8 houses. My total dividends from each property. I made $9 on the Fizzy. I made $3 on the Goldfinger. Woo! I think I've invested $100 into both, but they just sit there, and then you can sell it out. And like, this one's probably one of the longest. The Chelsea been rented for years. Rented out. I made $488 on a $2,500 investment.
Are you picking those houses, Dan, or is it basically like almost
Yeah.
like a mutual fund? You're putting it in there and then you're trusting somebody else to make the selections for you.
Yeah, here's the houses. Here's all the ones that they have opportunities on. So like you can go in there and look at all the houses that they have. Like I wanted to get one in the Phoenix area, but it got leased out fully fast. That way I can say I own one close to home.
Do you have like certain standards for when you pick a house, or?
I don't, for these, if I know the area or I want to have a house in that area, that I can say I own a house in Tuscaloosa, right?
Yeah.
Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Man, I'll never see these houses. I don't have access to these houses. I am just a silent investor in this firm of 386 other investors that own this. And all I have to do is I buy it, I can invest, 10 shares.
The really
And can
cool
you
way
get
to-
out at any time? Like if you want to just be done with it?
No, that's the thing is you've got to sell it in your portfolio. Come on, portfolio. I can sell some of my positions, but only during an open week quarter. So they have what they call secondary markets where you can put your shares on the market for sale. And I don't remember where I sold something. I sold one last year just to see how easy it was. But you can see my payouts, right? January, February, 42 cents, $8, 28 cents, $22, $8, $11. Like,
And if those come up for like if we were just as a listing agent and they were like, okay, this whole property, we just want to get it gone and they're selling it, is that probably held in an LLC and then you're just dealing with the LLC facilitating the deal and then they're distributing profits according to whatever their arrangements are?
yeah. Based on the operating agreement I have with Arrived, they let us know, and we share not only in dividend, but we share in profit when they sell. And they have yet to sell anything because they're doing so well on the hold strategy. I got into this when they had like 15 houses total, and now they've got hundreds, which is crazy. Yeah, 464 houses. It's insane. But again, it's makes it easy to get in investing. The way I saw this is for Keller Williams people. This is my profit share money. I make $100 a month in profit share. I put $100 a month in Arrived, and that way the money is growing not only for my dividends, but when they sell the properties, I get the money back. And it's money I don't think I have. So I've invested $7,500 total, and I'm up to $8,500. So I've made $1,000
Not doing anything.
not doing anything. Seriously, literally, I forget about it until I get an email that says, "Hey, you got distributions."
If you were savvy and bored, you could look up the contract behind this stuff, and there's a lot of people that do like paperwork real estate wholesaling, and there's money to be made doing that by setting up these sort of deals. Obviously, the more you do it, the more people know who you are, and they would trust their investment with you. But there's no harm in getting your feet wet. So there's tons of ways to make money in real estate, even if you don't have a ton of capital.
I like these conversations we have on Fridays, guys. Last week we talked about some creative ways of getting deals done, seller financing, subject to. We talked more today. I think DSCR needs to be a conversation for next week. How do we look for that? How does that make sense for your buyers? Because here's where you guys are going to pick up more buyers in the market by having more opportunities to get them funding. I think the
100%.
hardest part about being a real estate investor is finding the deal, not the money. And most people think it's the other way around.
Yeah.
I'll get the money first and then I'll find the deals. No, keep your eyes out, keep your ears open. You'll find opportunities. And that's when you go say, hey, I think this is an opportunity. Let's talk about it. And that's why you got Sam, myself, Jim, hopefully more of you soon that'll become real estate investors and look at that as like, hey, this is awesome.
It's like the 3 multifamilies that are right next to each other that I keep eyeballing.
Are they for sale?
Do it.
Yeah, they are for sale.
Okay, buy them.
I don't have the money to, otherwise I would.
Okay, how much are they? How much do you need? What's the pro forma on it?
I know. I'm like, send me some information.
They're all like right outside the gate of Post, so Fort Huachuca. Currently have tenants in them, except for one.
Eric, put the address into your Perplexity, say run a full pro forma on this property, and see if it makes sense for you to buy.
Okay.
Now you don't have to think. You have AI to do it for you.
I bought Perplexity too. I went the pro version.
I know you did. That's why I'm telling you to do it.
This thing's awesome.
Here, we got some extra time because my next call got canceled. If you guys wanted some shenanigans,
Yeah.
Let's do it.
so the other day, I love Letterkenny. If you guys don't know what Letterkenny is, you are missing out on life. So I have a property. Where is it? I told I've got this property that we're buying subject to, and I have it run a computer simulation for me, which is a little deeper than the pro. But it built me an entire pro forma, long-term versus short-term, right? Long-term via rental, short-term being Airbnb, pros and cons for both, and then the sources it pulled its information from. Talk about an easy deliverable. I download it, download it just as an Excel file. Now we stop this share. Stop this. Isn't that wild?
That's
So
crazy.
giving me the address, things about the property, the estimated value, fixed cost breakdowns. I gave it some information. It's giving me the long-term rental, right? Revenue stability, very stable. Short-term rental, seasonal, variable. And the analysis recommendation. Long-term rental is, $1,950 a month near break even, so $6,500 a year in equity buildup. And at $1,700 a month, the break even, the rent is above, pure side. So The sub rate locked in through 2051 is a massive long-term asset. New loan today would cost you $1,700 plus for PMI. And I'm in this house for $1,565 a month, PMI, taxes, and everything, BITI, because of the subject too. So you can see, like, you can quickly see my startup costs on long term about $1,000. My startup cost on short term about 15 grand. My true return is 2,500 to 6,000 a year based on, you know, what I rented out for. The other side of that is, in a short term, I can make $1,400 a year, or I could lose $9,700 a year based on seasonality. Now, one thing I did not play into factor here is it copied in for cleaning, wherever I can find the next sheet. So short term. So it talks about all your different things and the seasonalities. My cleaning fees, that's the loss, the $9,600. Who cleans my houses? My wife. So it's not a loss, it's income to her. It's, instead of me giving her $1,500 a month, she's making $1,500 a month in cleaning fees and pays her bills and debts, and it keeps us positive. So we look at that and go, okay, pros and cons. Here's your hybrid strategy. It says rent it out during solid seasons, do Airbnb on the soft season. So do a midterm. If you're not using AI to help you guys think smarter, you're missing out. It's not about creating fun, fuzzy pictures and cat videos. Although, Aaron, I love your post about the giant tree for bloom season. But
Is that an HOA, Dan? That one?
No. That is one of the things I look for, is if it's in an HOA, do I want it? And is the HOA, one, cheap or super involved? I don't want an HOA that's super involved. Honestly, I don't want an HOA at all.
Mhm.
But this one's not in an HOA. This one's, I like 70s houses. I like the slump block. I like the block ranch style, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, simple rentals. We have 5 of them. My other Airbnb is a monster. It's a 5-bedroom, 3-bath. But it makes $100 grand a year. There's some turnoff to having something that large, but also look at these properties. Say, hey, let's run a pro forma on this. Let's look at this address, and here's what I know about it. So it gave me a couple of variations to this, and it spit out some numbers that I looked at. I was like, that doesn't make sense. Also, my payment all in is $1,565. That includes PITI because I'm taking over an existing loan. Oh, okay. I thought that was just the mortgage and interest. It was factoring taxes on top of it. I was like, no, that's my all-in payment. So it recalculated. Okay, that makes more sense. And then it hit me with utilities. I'm like, I've got 105% solar. I have no electric bill. Oh, okay. So when it recalculates based on that, he goes, okay, based on what you've given me, it's actually a decent investment. Because you have to take the whole picture into account, not just, is this house make sense? Yes, I'm getting, equity up front. I've got some estimates to do some work. I thought I would be $30,000 in repairs. Comes to bid, I'll be like $22,000 in repairs. So I'm already $8 grand ahead. And I'm walking into instantly $100,000 in equity once those repairs are done. So I've got, an $80,000 spread. And all it cost me was taking the risk to do it and the title fees. So
I didn't really think much. I guess I've thought about this before. Obviously, we've talked about it. Me and Sam have talked about it. But the deal that I've got going right now, Dan, that the other agent in town is buying it and potentially backing out because of the cost of repairs, has me going, well, shit, get out of the way. Maybe I'll do it. Because I've got my own room to work with, the listing pot of gold.
And they own it, right? So would they do seller financing for you?
No, they are so debt averse of any kind. And they have that mortgage on the one they just bought, that they're like chomping at the bit to get that paid off with the full proceeds from this sale.
Okay. I mean, find a way to make it work, because I love that, because you've got leverage. And that's how this conversation started with this house. I was like, hey, it's worth like 330, 340 if it was move-in ready. You need to redo the pool. You need to redo that water line. That's going to be at least 25 grand.
We can talk more about this offline, but I'm wondering the ethics on this one. Do you know what I mean? Given just all the variables.
I mean, here's the thing: is it something we can't talk about now and have some open Discord on?
I'm game for it. I just didn't want to get myself in trouble.
Here, how's